The long-anticipated fourth Angel Sister of Innistrad has finally been printed, and she is broken. What's up, my bro? Tundrum here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my deck on Liesa, Shroud of Dusk, and Commander. Now this deck, it aims to get Liesa out as soon as possible, and then immediately start punishing and draining our opponents for casting spells. We utilise this by playing just singular big spells, so we don't get punished by her. Lots of activated abilities, so we don't get punished by her. Additional life drain for our opponents to help drain them out even quicker, and life gain to gain ourselves back up, so we can afford to continually be paying life, so we can immediately bring her back, so she's exceptionally hard to completely get rid of on your opponent's hand. And we have lots of protection and utility to help stop our opponents from doing anything, as well as the life drain, and protecting our commander. So, without further ado, let's get into it by looking at the commander, Liesa, Shroud of Dusk. Now, Liesa, Shroud of Dusk is a new commander from Commander Legends. She's 5 mana, 2 double white, and a black for a 5/5 legendary creature angel with flying and lifelink. Pretty solid, nice body, can get in for a lot of damage, especially if we get her in early, gain us tons of life. Then she says, rather than pay 2 for each previous time you've cast a spell from the command zone this game, pay 2 life that many times. So this is really solid. Not having to pay command attacks is massive. We can just bring her out almost instantly again. She gets destroyed next turn, just pay 2 life, bring her back. We don't manage to protect her, she gets destroyed, 4 life, bring her back. Just keep doing this over and over. We'll almost always have her on the field. And then what makes her even stronger is says whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. So we, like I said before, we utilize this by using mainly large spells and activated abilities, so we don't get punished. Life gain, so it doesn't hurt us if we do, and we can keep bringing her back. And, of course, our opponents lose life with this. So this, combined with life drain effects, can really drain them out very quickly. Losing 2 life whenever an opponent casts a spell doesn't seem like a lot, but over 1, 2, or even 3 turns, this can deal a total of like 20, 30, or even 40 life between your opponents, as well as swinging in herself. She's a very solid card, and I reckon she's going to be completely broken. I've already done a little bit of playtesting with this deck, with her proxying her in as the commander, and it is great. So, without further ado, let's get into the main list, by looking at Section 1, Life Gain and Win Conditions. First up, we're running Serra Ascendant. Really nice body, 1 mana 1/1 lifelink, but as long as we have 30 or more life, it becomes a 6/6 lifelink flying. EDH staple, even better in this deck, definitely worth the include. We're running both Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant. Over the course of the game, these can gain us tons of life by gaining us 1 life whenever any creature enters, often kind of counteracting the lose 2 life to us all on their own. And we do have a lot of life gain triggers, and these trigger those tons. Tithe Drinker. Nice body, 2 mana 2/1 lifelink, which can get him for a bit of damage earlier on, and it has Extort, so once again, we're not going to be wanting to cast too many spells, so we don't punish ourselves, so Extort can make those spells a little bit stronger for just 1 extra mana, draining out our opponents and gaining life. Iali, Eternal Pilgrim, she's pretty solid, 2 mana 2/3 Death Touch. We can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and if we have more than 10 life over our starting total, we can then pay 3 mana to start destroying our opponent's creatures by stacking something, which is really solid. Then we have Luminarch Ascension. This card is a beast in this deck. Luminarch Ascension, it's a 2 mana enchantment, and it says at the beginning of each opponent's end step, if you didn't lose life this turn, put a quest counter on it. Then, as long as it has 4 or more quest counters on it, we can pay 2 mana to make a 4/4 angel. This is insane. Our opponents aren't really going to be able to keep up with this, because whenever they cast spells, they lose life. And if they do, it's going to hurt them tons. And we can just go 4/4 or 5 times a turn. And that we can often start doing this on turn 3 or 4 immediately. It's absolutely broken. And if your opponents don't manage to destroy this, you're in such a good position. Next up, we're running Blessed Alliance. Really solid card, completely blows out our opponent's attack. For 2 mana, we can either gain 4 life, untap up to 2 target creatures, or make target opponents sacrifice an attacking creature. Or for Escalate, we can pay 2 mana any number of times and choose 2 or even 3 of these modes, which will completely blow out an opponent's attack. Super solid card. Then we have Indulging Patrician, 3 mana 1/4 flying lifelink, which is pretty solid, but then it says at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. This is really nice, because we are often going to be gaining 3 or more life, combo with our commander and our life gain cards, so this can really help drain our opponents out even faster. Ajani, Caller of the Pride, 3 mana 4 loyalty, it says +1, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Solid +1, can make a commander massive, even bigger, swing them for even more damage and gain us more life. And then the -3, target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn. This is also really solid, especially to play on our commander. Makes it huge, swing him for 10 damage that turn, or more if we've +1/+1 counted it. And he has a -8 that makes us a massive army of cats that nearly immediately win us the game the next turn. Then we have Recludescent Angel, 3 mana 3/3 flying. It says at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 5 or more life this turn, create a 4/4 white angel with flying. Really good with our commander. And we can pay 6 mana to turn Recludescent Angel into a 5/5 lifelink. This is really good, makes us a 4/4 angel every turn we get to swing him with either this pumped or our commander, or gain lots of life. Insane card. Then we have Campbell, really solid card, punishes our opponents for even more life when they cast non-creature spells, losing 2 and letting us gain 2 whenever they cast a non-creature spell. Really solid card, is worth the include in this deck. And then finally, we've got Sorin. Sorin is really solid. He makes all our guys lifelink on our turn. We can +2 him to deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. This is pretty nice. It can help drain our opponents a little bit faster or help deal with planeswalkers. And he has a -X, this is by far his most useful ability, that says return target creature card from your graveyard with CMC X or less to the battlefield. Really solid, gains us life, deals damage to our opponents, and can resurrect stuff. Really solid planeswalker. Now, of course, this wouldn't be a Tundrum gaming video without some infinite combos. So, next up we've got Veto Fawn of the Dusk Rose, Sanguine Blood, Vizkopa Guildmage, and Exquisite Blood. Now, these are all really solid. Now, pretty much what we need is either a Veto Fawn, a Sanguine, or a Vizkopa, plus an Exquisite Blood, and then this just immediately, they lose life, we gain life, they lose life, loot this and they immediately die. All of these cards are solid in their own. Veto drains them out whenever we gain life, so if we gain life with our commander, they lose that much as well, doubling the damage we deal, killing our opponents way quicker, and you can give our guys lifelink. Sanguine Bond essentially does the same ability, except it's an enchantment, harder to deal with. Vizkopa Guildmage is a 2 mana 2/2, and we can pay 4 to essentially give our guys that ability until end of turn, or we can also pay 3 to give target creature lifelink. And Exquisite Blood, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life, so it does go infinite with these other cards, and doubles the damage we deal to them on top of lifelink, which is really nice. And then we have another infinite combo, Famished Paladin plus Recludescent Mentor. These two together just gain you infinite life. Famished Paladin, 2 mana 3/3 that doesn't untap during our untap step, but when we gain life, untap it. So this is essentially a 2 mana 3/3, not that good in EDH, but it is still a 3/3, does some work. And Recludescent Mentor can help gain us a bit of life back, as well as, of course, being an infinite combo, which makes them exceptionally strong. Next up we have Aetherflux Reservoir, really solid, gains us lots of life, and if we have 50 or more life we can immediately cannon out one of our opponents, really solid. Sorin Markov, EDH staple, 6 mana 4 loyalty, we can +2 him to deal 2 damage to target player or creature and gain 2 life, can help drain our opponents out a little faster and gain us some life. His -3 makes target player's life total become 10, so we can immediately drain one of our opponents all the way down to 10 life, putting them in extremely high danger. And he has a -7 of you control target player during their next turn, which is, it doesn't make target opponent lose the game, but if we do get up to this, it's exceptionally strong. We're also running Sorin Grim Nemesis, really nice, draws us cards, can deal with creatures and planeswalkers and gain us life. His +1 also helps us drain our opponents, hopefully for a ton of damage, and his -9 makes an army of 1/1 lifelink vampires. Really solid card. Next up we have Exsanguinate, really solid card. If we have the mana, this can completely drain out all our opponents, hit them for tons of damage, and gain us a lot of life. Really good to include. Ajani, Strength of the Pride, +1 can gain us a bit of life, -2 makes Ajani's Pride Maids essentially, which can get absolutely massive, and a 0 that can exile all our opponent's stuff if we have enough life. And then we have Ajani Goldmane, 2 mana 4 loyalty, +1 to gain 2 life, -2 make all our creatures bigger and give them vigilance until end of turn, and a -8 that makes an XX avatar where X is our life total. He's really good if we have lots of creatures, can gain us a bit of life back over the course of the game, and Planeswalkers are pretty good because if our opponents are casting stuff to deal with them, they're going to be losing a lot of life, and they're good to just sit there in a staldy board state when not many people are doing stuff in fear of life loss. So very solid card. And then finally in this section we have Debt to the Deathless. Really solid card, 2 white and 2 black and X. Each opponent loses 2 times X life. You gain life equal to the number of life lost this way. This is really nice. If we have 9 or 10 or 11 mana to spend on this, this decimates our opponent. Great card. Now we're on to section 2, Interaction and Protection. First up we have Giver of Ruins. Really nice, can protect our commander or our other creatures just by tapping itself, which is really solid. Kaya's Wrath, 2 white and 2 black, destroys all creatures, and you can maybe gain a bit of life if it destroys your creatures. Heliod's Intervention, X and 2 white, we can either gain tons of life with this, or decimate the board of artifacts and enchantments. Great card. Anguished Unmaking, an EDH staple. For 3 mana we get to exile any non-land permanent at the little cost of free life. Amazing card. Fumigate, 5 mana, destroys all creatures and we gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. Nice to refuel our life and wipe the board. And Mother of Ruins, essentially a slightly stronger Giver of Ruins as it can also protect itself. Next up we're running Deadly Rollick and Flawless Maneuver. Deadly Rollick is 4 mana, exile a creature, but it's free if we have a commander. Busted card. And Flawless Maneuver is 3 mana, creatures you control gain indestructible, but it's free if we have our commander. Nice protection, can protect our commander if they play anything. Really nice. Mortify, 3 mana, destroys target creature or enchantment. Pretty decent removal, probably worth the include. Bastion Protector, 3 mana free, but as long as it's on our field, our commander gets 2/2 and is indestructible. This is nice, buffs it a lot so we can gain even more life and deal even more damage with it, and it gives it indestructible, which is insanely strong. Angel of Despair, 7 mana 5/5 flying, but when it enters destroy target permanent. It's pretty good to have big spells like this in the deck as we don't lose much life with them and they generate a lot of value. This is a nice body, can swing in for damage, and destroys any permanent when it enters. And then finally in this lot, we have Planar Cleansing. 6 mana, destroys all non-land permanents. You could argue that more smaller ball wipes like Fumigate or Kaya's Wrath are better, because they cost less, but they only destroy creatures, and often with a ball wipe like that, you'll still be left with a board state full of powerful artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers, but with Planar Cleansing, it gets rid of all of those. And the extra mana doesn't matter so much as you're normally not going to want to wipe the board on turn 4 or even 5 normally. So the extra mana doesn't matter, I just think this is a stronger card. Next up we're running Profane Procession. This is an insane enchantment. For 3 mana, it's a legendary enchantment that we can pay 5 to exile any creature. This would be broken, and then after we do this for 3 times, which is a lot, we then get to flip it into a legendary land that can tap for any colour, or we can pay 4 and tap it to put one of the exiled creatures onto the battlefield under our control. This is really good, can exile stuff then gain control of them, and this is nice because it's not actually a spell every time you activate it, so it's a nice mana sink when we don't want to lose life with our commander. Great card. Face Fetters, 4 mana enchantment. When it enters we gain 4 life, which is nice, and then the enchanted permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. This is really nice to shut down a commander or a big problem threat, and it gains us a bit of life. 1000 Lashes, we get an enchanted creature, does the same thing as Face Fetters essentially, except at the beginning of the upkeep of the enchanted creature's controller, that player loses 1 life. This can help drain out players even quicker, and the 1 life does start to add up. Over 3, 4, or 5 turns, that's actually a lot of damage. And then finally in this section, we have Fatal Push. It's a 2 mana instant that destroys target creature with CMC 2 or less. This is already solid removal. It's like a modern and pioneer staple. And it also is Revolt, which is if a creature you control left the battlefield this turn, destroy a creature with power, convert a mana cost, 4 or less, which destroys a lot of things. It's not ideal, but it is still really solid removal and definitely worth the include. Now we're on to the final section, Utility and Ramp. Now Utility and Ramp is really important because we want to get our commander out on turn 3 or 4 ideally, and then start punishing our opponents and swinging in even quicker. So in the Utility and Ramp section, we're running Marble Diamond and Charcoal Diamond, some nice 2 mana rocks that can ramp us into a commander earlier. Commander Sphere, solid card, taps for any colour, and later on we can sack it to draw a card, which can be pretty viable. Pristine Talisman, 3 mana, taps for a colourless and gains us a life whenever we tap it. This is nice, ramps us into the commander a turn earlier, and can gain us a lot of life over the course of the game. You'll be surprised how many games that this has gained me 5, 10 or even 15 life. Incredible card. Wayfarer's Bauble, nice little mana rock. 1 mana does nothing, but then we can pay 2, crack it to get any basic land into play tapped. Mindstone, 2 mana, taps for a colourless so it can ramp us into a commander quicker, and later on we can draw a card off it, which is really nice. Next up we're running Bonder's Ornament. This is actually a good card. It recently got printed but it hasn't seen any attention, but it's actually a really solid card. It's 3 mana and it can tap for any colour, which is really nice, but then we can pay 4 and tap it to each player who controls an artifact called Bonder's Ornament draws a card. Now, because this is seeing hardly any play, this is essentially a 3 mana rock that taps for any colour and has 4 and tap to draw a card, which is extremely strong. This is essentially a strictly better Commander Sphere, and later on, when we might not want to be casting spells or we're out of fuel, we can just pay 4, tap it to draw a card. Really solid. Then we're running Fort Vessel. I actually probably shouldn't have put this in the deck because there are better mana rocks, but I did still throw it in the end anyway. It's a 2 mana rock that says tap, add a colourless, but you have no maximum hand size. The maximum hand size doesn't really come into play too much in this deck, but occasionally it can give you a little bit of value. Then we're running Orzhov Locket. Nice card, can ramp us into a commander earlier, tapping for either a white or a black, and later on we can pay for, tap and crack it to draw 2 cards. Running Arcane Signet, taps for any colour, ramps us into a commander earlier, and is a solid mana rock. We're running Talisman of Hierarchy, can get us into our commander a turn earlier, as with most of these mana rocks. Taps for either of our colours if we pay 1 life, or for colourless. Nice mana rock. And then finally we're running Solemn Simulacrum, which is just really an auto-include in most EDH decks. Ramps us in, can draw us a card later on. It's actually not that solid, but 4 mana to draw a card, get a 2/2, and get a basic is pretty nice. Next up we've got Orzhov Cluestone, solid ramps us into a commander a turn earlier and we can sack it to draw a card later on. Falwar Stone, 2 mana, taps for any colour a land our opponent's control could produce, so it can help us ramp into our commander earlier, ramps us in and can often tap for our colours. Orzhov Signet, just a solid include, definitely worth chucking in. Orzhov Key Ruin, nice mana ramps us into a commander a turn earlier, ramps us into our bigger spells earlier, and later on it can turn into a 1/4 that can gain us a bit of life and hit our opponents for a little bit. Magnifying Glass. Now, I haven't seen Magnifying Glass see much play in EDH at all. In fact, I've never seen another player use it, but I actually think it's really nice. 3 mana, taps for a colourless, so it's pretty decent there, alright mana rock, but then you can pay 4 and tap it to investigate. And investigate, for those of you guys who don't know, it's make a colourless clue artifact that says pay 2 mana, sack it, draw a card. So it essentially says 4 tap, pay 4 mana now and 2 mana at any time in the future to draw a card. So there is 6 mana to draw a card, but that's not too much when you're splitting out between the 4 and a tap and the 2 and the tap and the 2 to sack the clue. And this over the course of the game, especially in this deck when we might not want to be casting spells, this can gain you 3, 4 or even 5 cards when you wouldn't be doing anything else. Really good card. And then finally we're running Soul Ring. You'd be stupid not to run Soul Ring in pretty much any EDH deck. Even a 5 colour deck, it would be pretty dumb not to include it. And yeah, guys, that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed. For the basic lands, well, for the mana base, sorry, just throw in anything you think would be good. I didn't put it into this video, but just any dual lands, like shock lands, fetch lands, any lands you think are good, just throw in to upgrade the mana base. But outside of that, just chuck in basics. And yeah, that's the deck. I hope you like the deck. If you want to see more from me, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time.